another edition of Life Leaders. I just made that up. I don't know if that's the thing or not. I'm thinking actually, I want to get some life lessons from every single person that I have spoken to. So that could be a podcast idea. Anyway, today we are talking to none other than the movement mechanic, Jack Easthope. He is a student at St Mary's. You know, last week we had a lecturer from university from St Mary's, amazing, talking about fitness and diet and food and what to have to eat for children, what they should have and what they shouldn't have, and good labels and bad labels, and how to remove all of that and just do what he said. So you're gonna have to watch that other episode. Today we've got a student of that, and his name is Jack Easthope. He has been a personal trainer for like so many years. I have had work done by him, and it's just phenomenal what he knows. It just blows my mind. He was working with somebody that had a scar here, but he was massaging inside his mouth to alleviate the pain. It's amazing. So I really have got a lot of time for this guy. His knowledge is just absolutely supreme. Not only his knowledge, but his dedication to delivering that knowledge as well. So I want to share him with you. I want to do that. And I know he's up for that. So he hasn't had his hair cut for a while. I have. And this is a work of my handy lady. So yeah, anyway, dudes and dudesses, I'm going to welcome Jack Easthope. Here he is. Booyah! What's going on, dude?
Good. I was actually going to wear a woolly hat.
Don't worry. No, I love your hair. So
hide the locks, but it's lockdown, so you know.
Lockdown. Exactly. That should be a thing, dude. Right. So my man, how's it going? How's it going? Yeah. We've got a hero background for you there, dude. A bit of Avengers because you're a hero. Can you see that?
Yeah. Who's your favourite?
Who's your favourite? Who I think your favourite one is? I'm going to say Iron Man.
You think Iron Man's my favourite?
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Yes. Get it. It's a big thing, isn't it?
What about you? Who's your favourite?
Spider Man. I'm a Spidey.
Nice.
Yeah, I've grown up with him. So guys, sorry guys, hello, this is Jack. He's right there, everybody. And today we are just discussing, we're going to have a nice general conversation, and we're going to be discussing, do you want to say hello to Jack?
Hey Jack.
Hi Laura, how you doing?
Iron Man.
She likes Iron Man.
Who's your favourite superhero other than Dale?
Yes, well put.
Iron Man.
Iron Man, good, great minds.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
In a bit. You can come in whenever you want. You don't have to go. Yes, there we go. Check that out. That actually says Louise Jack, but it's not. It's actually someone called Zach. Zach is half Australian, half English, but whole person, whole epic boy. Cool. Yeah. So I want to share this guy. This guy has got so much knowledge on the way the body works. I think that his name, the movement mechanic, is very apt. Dude, I've given you a slight introduction, but I can't do it any justice compared to you because you are you and you know you. So who are you in a nutshell?
So the movement mechanic, I've been a personal trainer for 8 years now.
Yeah.
Before that, I was with the NHS working as a physical activity officer, where we do like nutrition and exercise for people who'd been referred from their GPs. So just getting them into low-level stuff, giving them some basics about nutrition. And then from there, I went into PT. Throughout being a PT, I've kind of progressed onto strength and conditioning, but obviously working with the general public, so many people have so many complications when trying to do certain movements. You then have to learn that little bit more to help them stay active, help them keep moving without hurting themselves. And after opening up rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole, you just end up learning, which is cool, which is fun. So that's a bit about me.
100%. Yeah, so, thanks, bro. Appreciate that.
There's a lot I don't want to just go on it. There's a lot that I've done. I don't want to just go on and on. So that's kind of putting it in a nutshell.
I like that, mate. No, I really appreciate that because there's a lot of people that do go on, and it's cool. I mean, this is that's what I want them to do. For now, dude, I am going to switch off the comments. So, guys, if you've got any questions for Jack, write them down in case you forget. And have a little think about some ideas around stress. Now, Jack, I don't know about you, but I don't think there's any such thing as stress. I don't think stress has ever existed. It was just created in, the 30s or something by a guy called Dr. Cillier, who just put a new label on an old wine. What he was actually doing was creating a growth industry for doctors and lawyers. Stress, he relabeled from fight and flight and turned it into stress because he wanted a Nobel Prize. And like, for example, I can't, if I was working for somebody, I can't be like, hey guys, so I can, but I'll be like, hey, so I've been signed off for stress. The boss will be like, oh, okay, cool. When are you going to next be in? Perfect. But for me, what it actually is, it's not stress, it's fear. That you've got a deep, deep fear of something. And I can't go, oh, hi boss, I can't come in. I'm actually really scared. He'll just laugh in my face, or she will laugh in my face. Wouldn't really work. But stress, there's so many symptoms attached to it that we see even in the animal kingdom. When the animal's running for its life, and it can have very physical effects on you. And if goes untreated or unmanaged, or there's not enough self-care, will cause damage, right?
So I think, as you say, there's so many different things that can come under the label of stress.
Yeah.
Hence needing a label, because otherwise there's so much context that, you know, it'll be very hard to just put down to one thing. In kind of the context of a working environment, a lot of the time it's probably people being overworked without enough resources.
Yeah.
Not even enough self-care, but not enough support from teams around them. So then they diagnose themselves as what has been labeled as stress. But you're right, it can come under so many different labels or so many different contexts, when in reality, they're not all bad. Some of them are needed. So like, I switched off at the weekend and I wasn't stressed at all, but I was so switched off, I was ridiculously unproductive. I didn't do anything. Again, and I need to rev myself up on a Tuesday morning to add a little bit of stress into my life so I can start getting stuff done.
Yeah.
So I highly agree that, you know, stress is something that's just been labeled and created as a man-made thing.
Yeah.
But only because there is so many things that come under it, it needs to be put into a group, if that makes sense.
You may not do absolutely perfect. So I hope everyone's listening to that, because actually what Jack is saying, and what I'm agreeing with Jack, is that stress is good, depending on the amount. So I don't know if you ever heard of the inverted U theory. Those of you that want to increase their knowledge, just type that in Google after this, the inverted U theory, where you've got an optimum amount of stress, and that work actually happens. Like, for example, I can't think of a good example. Okay, so Jack, you're a runner, and you're blooming good at running. You're fantastic at running. You do a lot of OCR, which is obstacle course racing. And if you have an event, I don't know, in June the 15th, but you haven't trained for it, you're not going to do very well. So
I'd say with exercise and stuff like that, and you've probably seen it in the gym, that's when you go into a shock rather than a stress.
Okay.
So when you're training, you're creating stress and then recovering from the stress, and you're creating stress, recovering from the stress, and all of a sudden you can manage more and more stress and run further and further without less risk on your body or more shock to your system. Whereas if you just go out and try and run 15 miles, you're probably going to get 9 in and collapse through a single shock.
Yeah.
Which goes back to that whole thing again. Stress is not a bad thing if it's managed, if it's, you know, if it's not say trained, but if you get used to it, you build it up accordingly, you find times to de-stress as well, rather than just kind of putting yourself into states of shock and dropping bombs on yourself from time to time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does make sense. So what you're saying is progressive stress is kind of good.
Yeah, because you get used to it, you manage it. So I use the analogy of a tray. So let's say I'm carrying a tray with a champagne glass on.
Yeah.
There's so little on the tray that it might fall off.
Yeah.
And it makes a mess. So I've probably not got enough stress in my life. If I get 4 champagne glasses on the tray, it's enough to hold the weight of the tray. It's enough to make me productive and assertive. It gets me on the ball. It's a nice amount of stress. If I put 12 champagne glasses on the tray, it's just too much. You don't want the single glass, is probably going to fall off. It's too fragile. Too much is too heavy. It's going to, you know, just tip everywhere. But you still need that little bit for you to have something to work with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect. I love that analogy. It's like the Goldilocks, you know, too hot, too solid, whatever, but you've got to be just right. Just the certain amount of heat brings some pleasure to it. Yeah. The Goldilocks zone. I like that. That's really cool. So, what I was going to say, I'm doing this thing, dude, where I'm trying to how normally when I'm speaking to people, I just think of the next question. I'm not present, so I'm really trying to be present with you right now, dude. And I've, I forgot the next.
You can unplug if you want. And
I want to. I love it. This is the way it should be. That was it. So, for example, we've accidentally stumbled on something, guys and girls, that is so going to help you. If you're an adult watching this, it's going to help you, and it's going to help your child when they go back to school. So, for example, if there's no form, and Jack, I'm almost positive you'd agree with me on this one. If there's no form of personal development or mindset training or wellness or whatever label you want to put on it, if there's nothing like that going to happen from now or since it happened, if then going back to school in September, because it's looking like it's going to be like that way, and you're going to send the kids back to school, bang, there you go, there's your maths lesson, there's your association with kids, there's your communication, there's your there's your lunchtime, there's your structure, there's your this, there's your science, there's your English. Have you done your homework? No, here's all your homework, bang. And it's just like, whoa, too overwhelming and too much. So, and that's stress. That's your 12 glasses on a tray.
Yeah.
So what you've said there, mate, is really on point, because it's like, well, what can we do as you and me as coaches? What can parents do, and what can kids do? Because kids have got to have a certain amount of responsibility as well. What can they do to progressively deload that stress when they go back to school? And I think what we're going to hit on today is really, really cool. But would you agree with that, mate?
Yeah, massively. So that would again be kind of go into that state of shock. You're going to put the kids under shock. You're going to put them under threat. They're going to be full of fear. Like, how am I going to manage all this workload? How am I going to get it right? How am I going to find time to do my homework? I can't think. I've not done this in ages. I forgot my maths. I forgot my spellings, etc. Yeah, that's taken them to a state of shock. And personally, with the lockdown, you can't really allow them to have such a long summer holidays, especially at certain ages, because they will be then having to start from scratch. So finding something for them to do to keep them with a purpose, to keep them occupied, being accountable to them, not just maybe parents, but also friendship groups, being accountable to their friends, making sure they're sharing their ideas with the homework and stuff like that might help them, or just giving them a little something to keep them ticking over for when they do go back to school in September would help. Yeah. Making sure the schools are, like I said, catch-22, because you expect schools to know this, but they don't always follow it. But they should know that we can't overload the children too much, and we need to take our time and build them bit by bit. Maybe some 3-day weeks to start off would be a good idea, depending on the age.
I think that's a great idea.
And then, yeah, as you said, we can give them some stuff to help manage the stress, because even a 3-day week is going to be a bit more stressful when they've been doing sweet FA for 6 months, you know?
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, it's the same. You've been on holiday, been on some fantastic holidays, so have I. And it's like, boom, you hear that expression. I don't really like it, but you hear that expression, back to the grindstone, back to the whatever you want to call it. And it's just like, and it just hit you square in the face because you've been unproductive for that amount of time. But then have you, because kind of like you've been productive towards yourself, which is pretty cool.
It's a different kind of thing, isn't it? It's like, through this lockdown, I've been doing a lot of personal development stuff for myself. I've been exercising more. I've been baking. I've been doing stuff around the house, which is great, but it's a different context. So then when I need to switch my brain back onto another kind of working mindset, it will take a couple revs to get you back into it, as it will for the kids, even if they've been productive, they've been doing stuff around the house and playing with their friends and helping their parents out, being good kids. At the same time, getting their head back into literature is going to be a bit of a shock for them.
Yeah, so I know that you're not a parent, dude, and I know you haven't got any association to school as per se. What do you think are the positives that have happened, or what are the positives that kids and parents can get out of what's happening in the current climate right now, do you reckon?
You see, I've always done lots of running and cycling and exercise.
Yeah.
And the amount of people you now see going out for a daily walk, you now see going out cycling and running is a great thing. So people are starting to put more emphasis on their health, probably through the fear of, there's a virus out there that might kill us and attack our respiratory system. Let's improve our respiratory systems by going and get fit. That's really good. Like having the time together as families, although I know it's been stressful for some people I've spoke to doing the homeschooling because the kids don't perceive the parents as teachers and therefore they don't listen. I know that's been hard, but just having more time as a family must be quite a nice thing. You know, I know it's going to have its stressful moments too, but that's quite nice. I know I've enjoyed being at home with the missus more. Hopefully people have been eating a little bit healthier, you know, managing their money better and stuff like that as well. So there's all those positives, not to mention global warming's got better.
Yeah.
So what about yourself? What would you say some of the good things are?
Oh, it's all negative. I hate it. It's horrible.
Do you?
No, dude. So for me, I'm learning French.
Yeah.
I'm learning a bit of French. And what's really cool as well, because I'm in a relationship, it's like, you know, Laura goes away, she does her work, she flies, I do my thing, and that time apart is pretty cool because it's very necessary for people. But when you kind of like in lockdown and you're forced per se to be with that person, it's like, whoa, I'm not finally, but I have an opportunity to understand this person, and it hasn't been easy, and I'm sure it hasn't been easy for you because we're human, so we have to acclimatize to that person, and it's a lot of self-work before you know, the other person to change. It's not fair and it's not right. For me, I've done a lot of working out, dude. I've done so much working out. In fact, I think I'm a bit injured. And I think you already know, I've told you about that. I've had a few injuries because I've been working out too much, and that's like a mental thing where it's just like, oh, I'm not going to the gym. I've got to work out double when I'm home. And I've learned that actually after the second month, it's like, no, you don't, Dale. You're doing quite a bit. In fact, you're doing more than if you would go to the gym.
So you're probably putting your body under too much stress, right?
Exactly. I'm putting my body into too much shock.
Yeah.
Too much shock, too much stress. There we go. See you, mate. No worries. And I just think it's a really cool opportunity to build relationships with this household. Also, it's a really cool opportunity to miss something that we all take advantage of: freedom, connection, physical contact, cuddling. Like my mom gets so upset. I reckon 85% of the time she cries when we have a social distance hello through the window or at the end of a garden, because she's a hugger and I'm a hugger as well, and it's like I will never take a hug for granted ever again. Before it's like this, oh, there you go. So
have you heard of some of those tribes that you get in different parts of the world who communicate through like brushing each other's hair and through touch? Like touch is part of communication.
Yeah.
Touch is massive. So there's something called the homunculus man.
Ooh.
Which the homunculus man is the man of how your brain perceives your body.
Yeah, okay.
Google it. So it's a short man with massive hands, massive feet, big lips and big ears, because they're the parts of your body that have the most sensory input.
I think I've seen that. Is it like a cartoon or?
Yeah, it looks like a cartoon, yeah.
Yeah. Keep going, mate.
And that's the saying that like these parts of your skin are different kind of textures because they have more nerve endings.
Yeah.
Because they're made for communication. So when you touch someone and you hug someone and when you kiss someone, it's a form of communication itself. So we may be benefiting ourselves in some perspectives by picking up more skills by using online communications and workplaces, working with teams and Zoom, etc. But we're all personally, internally, emotionally missing out on that human touch, which is massive. So I'm not surprised we're all getting upset and a little bit irritable because we're missing that touch, and the minute we get that touch back, we'll let go of that feeling.
Yeah.
But this vibe, I won't take it.
And is it the most nerve endings are there as well? Is that what?
Pardon?
Is that because it's the most nerve endings in these parts?
So in the lips, the hands, the feet, the gooch, they're the areas. So, but the most neurons. So the brain perceives it as big areas, where your actual body and your legs are like your brain perceives them as just little areas because they don't have as much sensory input.
Okay, I got you. That's cool. Awesome. Yeah, So guys, take some notes.
So that's just shows how important touch is, not just like mentally and emotionally, but also physiologically as well. It's needed.
Yeah. I want to spend a bit of attention on the people that are dropping down some information. So let's have a little look. Yeah, so I dropped something on my fingers. That's going to hurt, probably because of the most nerve ending just there, I guess. Ewan. There we go. Here's one. This is from this is the mom. The daughter's watching this. This is Lily. I'm terrified to go back into high school. Well, if you think about it, Lily, you will be if you have that kind of thought, right, Jack?
I guess the first thing you want to do is like think about what is it you're actually scared of. Why are you scared to go back into high school? Is it because of all the people and because of Corona? If not, don't worry too much, because I'm sure the government won't allow it until it's safe.
Yeah.
If it's about kind of the workload that you're going to have dropped on you, like we were talking about, the best thing I would do is go and communicate with your teacher and just say, look, like I've not done work for 8 weeks. You can't expect me to do this much. I can just be realistic with them. That might help. But it all depends what you're scared of, what you're terrified about.
Yeah, that's a very good point. What? There you go. What, how, and why, Lily? There we go. We can have that one just there. So this one is from Megan. It's honestly not as bad as it seems. Most of the time, the teachers are really kind and remember everyone as in the same situation. They go back. Yeah, cool. It's a new school for all, so it's a fresh start. Yeah, that's quite good.
So we don't know the plans yet. The school might say 3 days a week, or they might, kind of cut the workload to start to build them back in and stuff like that. So
yeah, 100%. Oh, this is a nice one as well, Jack. Easy. Back.
Just be you, yeah, cool. Always helps.
Perfect, yeah. And this is so Louise Lee. Personally, I've been procrastinating eating. Not going out because my son is anxious about going out because I have asthma. It's all very insular, just me and him. Oh, okay.
So that's a tough one. So what about just going out for a gentle walk or trying to spend as much time in the garden as you can? That would be quite a good thing to relax. If you are indoors, maybe try and find a room that you can create as your room to create your own space. Maybe try some breathing, yoga, meditation in that space. And then if you can find your own center a bit better, you can then go and help your son get rid of his anxiety. Find a way of creating some space for him as well. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
If you can, do it in the garden, but if not, just find some space in your house somewhere that's just yours.
I do like that a lot. In my online program for Competence for Kids, I have a 4-step, just call it the 4-step, where it's like you divide it by 4. So that if the big thing is going out for a walk, and it's just like, no, or even going back to school, but in this case, big walk, no, or divide that by 2. What's less than that? Well, just go in the garden, but maybe that's a bit too scary. We'll divide that by 2. Okay. Well, why don't we put on some David Attenborough and watch some outside stuff? I love your idea, dude, of having a private room. You can call it your outside room, and I think it's really cool. And even then, you could divide that by 4 by just sitting down or laying down, you and your son in the room, your own private outside room, even though it's inside, and you can have some Netflix have got these cool things where you can just have the outdoors, or even YouTube, and you can listen to outdoor sounds and stuff, and you can really acclimatize to it. And I think what you said just there is as well, what are you scared of? That's a good one. And what is is it true? Because a lot of the time, fear is, as they say, false evidence of being real. So is it true? And then gently build up to those steps. So what's next? Now I've done this. I'm ready to go outside. I can do this. We can do this, even if it's for like 5 seconds, and then build to 10. Tiny little steps. There's some people, Jack, which just me on the opposite. I do tiny steps because one of my limiting beliefs, and I'm okay with it, is that I'm impatient. I want things yesterday. So I want to be like that. Boom! I just want to go all in straight away and just smash it. Like I was scared of heights. I did skydive. Just want to get it done. And I'll prove to myself that I'm not scared anymore. So yeah, but Jack's got now have your own little private room where it's just dedicated to you, and it's not like that, man. That's good. That goes to Astor. I didn't know that, mate.
One thing with the with all the uncertainty at the minute, like it's going to cause a little bit of brain fog. So you're not going to be able to think clear and straight because of all that uncertainty. So all of a sudden, you are going to start creating more what ifs, buts, and whys in your own head, which is you going to be creating more fear in your own head and more anxiety in your own chest. So if you remember that a lot of the uncertainty that you're feeling is because of corona, and all of the things that you're constructing in your own head probably aren't real and there's no evidence towards it, you can then start to kind of relax a little bit and down regulate. And then when you find your space, you'll be even more relaxed.
Yeah, I like that, dude. That's something.
So quick thought out there.
Yeah, no, I do like that. That's great. Now you were saying anxiety in the chest and stuff. Now I managed to catch because Jack, you're on Instagram as well, right? And
yeah.
So the movement mechanic as well. And what sort of the things can we do physically, like self massage or anything like that? I'm getting ready because I know what's going to happen. Can parents do and children do that can help them
down regulate? So breathing is probably your first and foremost. So a lot of people talk about yoga and meditation, and when I first started working in and taking time to look after myself and some self-care, because I was used to running and cycling and working out in the gym and being on the ball and attacking everything at 100 miles per hour, the thought of meditation and yoga to me was like, yeah, it's a bit too slow, it's a bit too boring.
Right.
But even if you just practice breathing, you don't have to be in a stretch like yoga, you don't have to worry about overthinking stuff while doing it, but just over time, through practicing good breathing mechanics, and instead of breathing up on your chest here, getting down into your trunk and pelvis, you will naturally go into a parasympathetic state, and you will naturally down regulate and become more relaxed. So I find breathing exercises in your own space while lying on the floor are great. And it's not as like yoga or meditation, because for some people I understand that seems too far-fetched because they don't fully understand it and they prefer a different side of the coin, but that's probably your number one go-to breathing practice.
Okay.
So
how would they breathe? How would I breathe on the floor?
Yeah, you can do it any way you want. So like I prefer to lie down on my back on the floor and rest my heels on the sofa, so my legs are at 90 degrees. Okay, so I'm lying on my back, legs at 90 degrees. But you can do it in any position you want. You could do it seating, you could do it cross-legged on the floor, you could do lying on your side.
Yeah.
All you would want to do, I put my hands on my stomach to help get some more awareness, and I just breathe in for 4. Trying to imagine I'm blowing up a rubber ring around me, and then just gently breathe out for 8. And just repeat that for 5 minutes or so. Put a timer on. And then out for 8. And at first you might feel like your breath's here. So you might find you're lifting your chest because they're accessory breathing muscles, but you want to work on using the bigger muscles of respiration down here and filling out here before up here. So you should fill the lungs and then the chest will expand, or the ribs will expand. But that's what the hand and the touch, because of those sensory nerves we were talking about, is really good as a cue. And just fill your hands with air. So you want a short inhale and a longer exhale. So 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out.
Okay. 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. What's the science behind that, dude? What's the difference between breathing high up here compared to down here?
So your diaphragm actually sits under the ribs here, and that's your primary breathing muscle. So when you breathe in, your diaphragm should drop as your lungs fill with air, your ribs expand, and then obviously you fill up the rest of the ribs, because they come all the way up here to the collarbone, and then you fill there with air. So what you want to be doing is using the primary muscles of breathing rather than the accessory muscles of breathing. Because sometimes people feel anxious when they're caught up here, when it could just be like a weak trunk, the muscles of respiration aren't working properly. And then it's a catch-22 because you're not breathing correctly and you're feeling anxious, and because you're not breathing, you feel more anxious, and so on and so on. So if you can take time to get deeper and be more relaxed by breathing lower, some of the sensation here will dissipate and you should start to feel a bit better.
So it's almost like look, that rubber ring is really cool. I like that. Imagine you've got a rubber ring here or a balloon in your belly that you want to blow up and then just blow out the candles.
That's it, because the diaphragm's 360 degrees. Although we think of it under the ribs, it runs all the way around.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a cylinder. So think about looking at a bird's eye view into your brain, down the spinal cord. You'll see the diaphragm sitting around all the organs and spinal cords.
Yeah.
Which is why it's so important. Like a lot of organ issues and gut issues can sometimes be due to faulty breathing as well, because the diaphragm's stuck, so it's compressing on the stomach, refluxing up the windpipe. Food being stuck here can give you more sensation of anxiety. Yeah. The more you can get the diaphragm to move, the more space you create in the trunk. And so,
I'm glad you hit that, dude, because there's a lot of people that think, and I was one of them, I'll be honest, that think, oh, you just need to relax. What do you do? Breathe. I breathe all the time. I breathe all the time. Yes, you do. Stop taking it for granted. It's actually insanely beneficial for you. I remember a while ago you said when we were fortunate enough to go skiing together, and I had freezing cold fingers. I don't know if you remember this. I said, "Oh, I've got really bad blood circulation to my fingers," and you went, "I'll breathe then." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Breathe." And I was like, "Taking a minute."
If you look at the anatomy, like your biggest veins, your biggest blood vessels all run through the center. So on top of the sternum, you've got all your lymphatic system that helps you detoxify and drain. You've got your blood vessels, you've got your veins, and the big one runs straight through the middle, even more so here in the bottom of the stomach.
Yeah.
One of your blood vessels is the size of a pencil.
Ah.
Yeah. So if you're not breathing properly, you remember the blood carries oxygen around your body. So if you're not getting the respiration right, you're not going to get the right amount of oxygen within the blood to get to certain areas, which is why you have cold hands, cold feet.
Yeah, that's true though. And I did that. I was when I went on a ski lift, I was consciously going.
Probably great altitude as well.
Yeah. But I did notice it. I did notice just like, I don't know if it was placebo or what, but I didn't care because placebo works in my book. It was just like, oh, and I was like, oh gosh, it's right.
It's physiologically right. It makes sense. And you're right. You breathe. I think it's 25,000 times a day.
Ooh.
Which is why breathing correctly is so important. Because if you're breathing 25,000 times a day up here, you're going to end up with elevated shoulders that can then impinge certain nerves that communicate with the brain, that can give you more stress or sensation of stress. So if you can breathe lower, you can relax your shoulders more. You can get more circulation, more blood flow around your body.
Yeah, and just treat yourself to breathing, man. Jeez, it's so crucial. It's important. You hold your breath. See how long you can do it for. You need to breathe. You can breathe in the correct way, or so there's a scientifically proven way to help de-stress. Then do that. So Jack, you're gonna have to correct me for this because my knowledge is rusty compared to yours. But you've got the sympathetic system, which is like raising heart rate, raising breathing rate, etc. Very high up here. And then you've got the parasympathetic system, which is like lower, calm, chill, breathe it down. And there's certain things that we can do in our body to activate this, because there's am I right in saying there's a vagus nerve here?
Yep.
Way to our stomach, and when we activate that or at least stimulate it, that can activate more the parasympathetic response, calming us down, and not going into more alert mode. So if we are in alert mode, we need to activate the parasympathetic system. So guys, I'm going to say it again slowly: sympathetic system, parasympathetic system. But we just need to okay with Jack. All right?
Yeah, that's right. So a good way to think about it is you were talking about the vagus nerve.
Yeah.
That helps you like paralyze your nervous system by bringing it down a little bit and keeping it down regulated. Yeah. And then the other nerve's called your accelerator nerve.
Oh, okay.
That you need to rev up your nervous system. And we would always all naturally use our accelerator nerve. So if we're going to put some rubbish in the bin, or we're going to walk down the street, or we're going to do any small tasks, we're going to use our accelerator nerve. And we all throughout our lives, we get better and better at doing more and more and more. So, drop the kids off to school, then I'm going to go drop this off to my in-laws, and then I'm going to go and do this and going to do that. And we all get better at revving ourselves up to get more in, because we're usually scarce of time. But we never spend any time consciously practicing how to also bring ourselves back down, because we need to be balanced. We need to be able to go when we need to go, but then chill when we need to chill. So we can't always be revved up. We need to learn how to rev ourselves down. So breathing is one skill we can use to work on kind of tuning in and bringing ourselves back down to center, to stop ourselves from overloading and burning out, dropping those 12 glasses of champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At some point. I saw with Callum on Instagram, there was this thing you're doing. You were massaging. Is there anything, what how's that work?
So the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, and the cranial nerves are the nerves that attach from your brain to your head. And like you said, the vagus nerve goes down to the organs. So the biggest nerve we've got in our body is called our central nerve, and that helps us move, and it tells our body how our joints feel and how our muscles feel. But then the communication we get about smell, taste, vision, balance comes from the cranial nerves, the brain's nerves. So that vagus nerve runs from the brain into the organs. It runs through the neck. But sometimes if some of the other cranial nerves, or we'll call them brain nerves to make it easy, are not working properly, or the skull's a bit too tight and under stress, because when we breathe, our skull's meant to move. That vagus nerve is never going to work properly. So I was doing a simple massage here at a very important spot, because it's where a lot of the bone plates meet, where you just gently rub just behind your temple. So if you find your temple there and then move back, you'll find the sphenoid bone, and just gently massage both sides for 30 seconds. One side might be tighter than the other, that's fine. And just gently massage through there. And sorry?
How do you feel if it's tight?
You might have a little bit of discomfort there, or one side might be a bit harder than the other. And for every 30 seconds, the structure should soften. You should feel the tone change.
Yeah.
And from that, you will feel like a bit of space open up in your head. Some of those sensory nerves will start to work better. There's a point in the back of the skull as well, where you can do the same thing. So right on the base of the skull there. You can gently massage there as well. Come a little bit higher and wider. About there, perfect. So, and then do the same thing. See, I'm a little bit sorer there than I am at the front.
Yeah. I think
and
I am.
Feel that?
Yeah.
And you can move, if you don't want to move the hands, you can just push into the point and move the head.
Oh, that's not worse than the front, mate.
Yeah. And that's just giving some space to those nerves. So once those nerves have more space, you might improve your senses. So your smell might improve, your taste might improve. But more importantly, that vagus nerve we were talking about can function better.
Okay.
So let's say you were trying some of the breathing drills and you just couldn't get into your stomach. You were breathing in your neck and your chest. You might want to, before that, intervene and massage here, create some space, and then naturally the vagus nerve will work better. You'll be able to breathe a lot deeper.
Yeah. And it's simple mechanics, guys, because it's like, if I've got a bad back or I'm tight somewhere, I get a sports therapist or a masseuse to come in and really get those knots and make sure the muscles, because muscles are like this, but now then this person makes the muscles nice and straight so it flows. And obviously, if that's flowing, the blood can flow, the oxygen delivery can flow nicely. Compared to that, I mean, the blood flow is going to be like this. It's going to get caught and not either travel down. So just like massaging your head is really, really on point. There's I saw it the other day. I felt it the other day. I was going to ask you. I forgot. I can't find it now. But there was a place back here, and it was really bizarre. So I'll need to speak to Jack whilst I was on the call, because like just there.
So that might be some of your temporal bone, temporal muscle. So it's one of the muscles that helps move the jaw. So it could be some of that. It could be some of the occiput being stuck as well. So the bone in the back. I think that comparison to muscles is great. So the same way you need to stretch your muscles to get those nerves better and the blood flow better, there's ligaments and nerves in your head as well. And you need to create some space here by having some gentle massage on the cranium too, and the neck's massively important.
Oh, dude, neck is Yeah, so here I'm tight, but if someone pinches me here, not even hard, just right there, it hurt, and I'm doing it now and it hurts. I'm okay with it, but I feel what I do is when I feel up for it, I hold it and I squeeze it as hard as I can for as long as I can.
So I would like kind of breathe in and shrug, and then as you breathe out, just let them drop, because it's less invasive. You're not, because I find if you're too hard with your touch, sometimes your brain might tighten up elsewhere because it will still perceive that discomfort as threat.
Yeah.
So the more invasive you can be, and just kind of, that'll feel quite nice. So breathe in as you shrug. Exhale, just slowly let them drop, and that will target the oxygen to come to here, which will target more blood to come to there, which will help with recovery. Because even massages, that heat and that temperature from rubbing the skin increases the blood flow, and blood is one of the best ways to recover.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. Yeah. So
definitely. Cool, dude. So there's other things as well that I was trying to do a bit of research before this as well, just to see if everything's right and not a load of rubbish. But you've got the ocular nerves, and I don't know if they're attached to the vagus nerve, and when they get calm or relaxed or stimulated, at least that's when it can calm down the vagus nerve. So you see people doing this when they're stressed and
yeah,
it's a really unconscious response, isn't it? Is there? Sorry, carry on, mate.
You can consciously do that as well. So in some therapies, they call that your third eye.
Oh, okay.
And you've got a nasal suture, so you've got a ligament that attaches your nose bone to your skull bone.
Okay.
So let's say you're just stressed at a simple level.
Yeah.
And your traps get tight. So there's 12 different cranial nerves, and I'm talking from 12 all the way up to number 1. So the one you mentioned was number 1.
Okay.
Right. So we'll start from the bottom. So our traps get tight and we can't breathe properly. And then we might lose we might get a bit of tension in our neck and pain in our ears, and we lose a little bit of balance. We start to create tension in our facial muscles and in our skull muscles. So that stress response has caused tension everywhere.
Yes.
Right. So what we're doing subconsciously is creating a little bit of space. You'll see people doing that as well, hands on their head.
Yeah.
And like I consciously do it sometimes. If I'm focusing on work and I'm trying to read something, I'll sit there with my hands on my sphenoid bones, and my reading is so much better. If I did it in general public, people might label me or criticize me, God, is he all right, kind of thing. But when you're consciously doing it and you know why you're doing it, all you're doing is creating space to then allow everything to function better. It's like stretching a muscle to allow it to contract better, to then reverse those sensations. It's like one time you might have a better sense of smell than another time. You might taste food differently from one situation to another situation. That's not the smells or the food, that's your kind of nervous system and that sense of stress or no stress.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, so the most important sense is smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the most highest hierarchy of sense is smell, and then it's vision, then it's eye movement and kind of perception of where you are in time and space. Then it's kind of facial expression, so someone's smiling or frowning subconsciously.
Yeah.
And so on.
Wow, sense of smell.
Yes, sense of smell is your most powerful sense. So if you've lost your sense of smell, then you probably want to work back. I always start with breathing, smiling, bit of neck movement, and that can enlighten your senses a bit as well. It's why massage parlors, they use aromatherapy oils.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
To uplift your senses, to help you relax more, to then allow their treatment to work better.
That makes loads of sense.
So yeah,
Loads of sense.
Yeah, it's being aware of it rather than not being aware of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so just to reiterate, everybody. So you've got a place here. So not your temple. Just go slightly further back, and then you can give that a massage 30 seconds. Obviously, breathing as well. So we can do this one, and then we can get right to the base of the skull back here, and that's really cool as well. Would you recommend kind of like massaging there, or just closing the eyes so it's just like a nice peaceful environment? Because when you guys are right.
A nice one is like, instead of in the middle of the nose, like a pinch, if you just go under the eyebrows there and there, it might be a little bit sore, and just gently push up because that will help the olfactory nerve, which is smell, the optic and oculomotor nerves that move the eyes. So just gently move back and forward. Like if you're on a laptop all day and you just want like a 2 to 3 minute break, do some massage here. Like don't move the head, but move the eyes around in different directions.
Yeah.
And that when you finish, it will feel great. And like if you do any of these kind of gentle massages and you feel like just a big exhale at the end of it, that's fine. That's kind of you just letting go of whatever's been creating that tension, which isn't always a bad thing. It could just be a workload or a worry or something that we all have to manage throughout life.
Yeah. Does this have anything to do with anything, mate? So people press there, don't that thing?
So there's a practice called emotional freedom techniques.
Okay.
Which is quite popular at the minute. You integrate it in quite a lot of therapies, and it's basically tapping.
Yeah.
But it starts in the skull for the same reasons of the cranial nerve. So you'll tap certain areas of the skull, and then this will be like the main anchor where you'll tap here, because we hold a lot of emotion in our hands because of the sensory input of our skin we were talking about.
Yeah.
And that tapping is meant to be a way of releasing.
Okay.
Like in a therapeutic environment, you would also use language with it. So if I wanted, let's say I was getting upset because I failed a test, you would do the tapping points and you would say, even though I failed my test, I still deeply and profoundly love myself. And you'd say that 5 times while tapping. And you remember, even though I failed my test, I'm not that upset about it. I'm not going to affect my value and my self-esteem, because I still deeply and profoundly love myself. And you do it while tapping, and subconsciously it's meant to get rid of the kind of the upset of failing the test, shall we say.
Yeah, okay. Well, the negativity attached to it.
Yeah, but you're kind of rewiring the patterns with the tapping and stuff. It's called emotional freedom techniques.
Emotional freedom techniques. Guys, write that down. Emotional freedom techniques. Okay. Go. Yeah, dude, last week we had somebody, there was a lecturer from St Mary's. Did you manage to catch that? And you're a student there as well?
Yeah, I'm doing an online master's in strength and conditioning.
That's really cool.
More of a sporting context to work in professional sport and stuff. But
yeah, so we had Paul Huff.
What does he teach?
Lab. He's a lab guy.
Okay, so I've not met him yet. My teacher is a guy called Dr. Daniel Cleaver.
Okay.
And he's great. He's just brought a book out called Subvert that talks about the scientific method and practice.
Oh, actually, wait there. Yeah, just what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find that.
He's also got a book called The Little Black Book of Training. So if you're into exercise and keeping fit and healthy, it's a way he's put all the science of exercise into really common layman's terms.
Okay.
Which is a good book as well. So The Little Black Book of Training was his first book, and Subvert was his second book. But he's the main lecturer.
The Little Black Book of Training. I like that. That's cool. Here we go. Got it on here. Oh no, did you have it on here? I just want to show you guys before we move forward. Oh, by the way, so just while we're doing this, we might as well do it while we're here. Guys, if you're interested in what Jack's saying, because it's clear that he knows his stuff and he's been doing it for a blooming long time, there's any parents watching this as well, that when all this is all over, or you want to get his advice, is it okay if people reach out to you, bro?
Yeah, of course you can. That'd be great.
Yeah, so here is Jack's Instagram. Let's see if I can turn this off. Oh, terrible. There you go. That's Jack's Instagram.
Okay. The.movement_mechanic.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to use it as like an educational platform. So just trying to give information about nutrition and a way of thinking and exercise, and a way of going through a process to get better at exercise, rather than writing it about me and stuff like some fitness pages.
Yeah.
Similar to yours, I'm rather doing it to help people instead. So educating people and giving them some different approaches.
Oh, mine's all about me, bro.
No, it's not. It's not. It's just a distraction. A lot of it you put out there is great. So yeah, that's a really good book. If let's say you're doing GCSE science or maybe A-level science, that puts it into a really good context.
Yeah, cool. Nice one. Okay, so if you've got a bit of time, I've got some kids on here that may want to ask you some questions, if that's all right, mate.
Yep, cool.
Let's get them all on. We've got Zach here, Ali, and What's his name again? I forgot his name. Ewan, what's your name again? I forgot.
Hi.
Joking,
Hiya.
Kieran. Here's Jack. Everybody, give Jack a wave.
Hi, Jack. Hi, Jack.
Hi guys.
You're on the TV.
Oh, wow.
If I change this, you're on the TV.
Oh, you did it. You did it yesterday. There was so
We're on
many.
TV, Jack.
Try look carefully. You're on the TV.
Ooh, there we are. Great.
One sec.
Cool.
This is gonna frequency.
There we go. There it is. Thanks, mate. Very high energy over here. Now, the first one, bro. No, I think actually, no, Kieran, you were the first one. There he is. Oh, no, we don't want to do Jack, surely. Definitely don't want to do Dale. The world's not ready for it. Kieran, do you have any questions for Jack at all?
Yes, I do. About the music as well. Breathing.
Come over.
It's like the breathing. You're playing an instrument sort of thing. I got a warm up in like 10 minutes, so
The breathing was
when you're playing like an instrument,
So some of the breathing stuff that I learned when I was on the workshops and the seminars that I was at learning about breathing, some people came from musical backgrounds, mostly singers who wanted to get high notes, or trombones who needed to hold their breath for a long time.
Yep.
And they came to understand the anatomy and the way the breathing muscles in the body work, so they could improve the way they move to then improve the way they breathe. So if you can practice breathing separately to your music, you should be able to hold those notes for longer. Does that
cool. Thanks.
It would help loads. So that would be a really good idea to practice to help your music.
Thanks.
Kieran, that's your
question.
right?
It's a very good question.
That's a very good question.
You like this cake?
What cake? What cake is it?
We made it for VE Day. It's a cake.
What? Like a Victoria sponge or?
I think it's like it's vanilla, but it's got different colors for different layers. Like you got blue, white, and red. Yeah.
You make it.
VE Day bit.
You made it, yeah.
Yeah, with the help of Mum. Well, Mum did most of it. I did 2 of the layers.
Good.
How big is it? Hey, Mum.
I always used to bake with Mum. If I was ever off work, we'd bake with hand whisk, and I'd be nicking the fork off them.
Yes, right.
So since Mum, and Dad, Jack, I don't know about you, buddy, but I used to love baking with my mom, because when she finished, I used to get the bowl, the cake mixture in the bowl, the big bowl. Did you ever used to? Oh, how good! Oh, that
It's the only reason I did it. It's the only reason I helped.
Yeah, me too.
Good.
Wicked. Kieran, that was an ace question, buddy. Well done. Lily, have you got a question, or are you falling asleep? There you go. Oh, there you go.
I've got a question, but I've also stung myself. I fell into some stinging nettles on a walk, so half my body is covered in stings. So
Okay.
that's
Well done.
painful. But I was riding my bike and I fell into it.
Okay. Get some dot leaves. Some placebo.
Yeah, I licked rubbing dot leaves on it. There weren't enough.
Yeah. That's really good. Where's your question at?
Is there something you knew now that you wish you knew when you started doing what you do now?
Whoa.
A very good question. I guess it would probably be about recovery.
Okay.
When I first started doing what I was doing, even looking after myself and exercising myself, I just wanted to keep fit all the time. So I'd always be pushing myself harder and harder and harder, trying to do more and more and more. Never respecting the time when I need to sometimes just rest and recover. So if I knew that then, I'd probably not worry about not training as hard as regularly and appreciate my rest more. If that makes sense.
It makes sense, Lily.
So understanding, as important as it is to kind of always push yourself and always do the best you can, sometimes you do need to have a bit of time just to unwind as well.
Jack. Yeah, Jack. I'm glad you said that. But we're going to ask Jack's question first, because there's another question that I would love to see if you can get your head around it.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to go Lily. First of all, Lily, that's a wicked question. I love all these kids' questions. They're better than my questions. Not this question, but it's what Zach, bro, do you have a question, my man?
No, I don't.
Does your dog?
As far as I'm aware, no.
Oh, okay, no worries. so the thing is with Zach, Jack, he just wants to be on the stream. There you go, just to hang out with us on here, which is absolutely cool. So that's cool. If any questions pop in, Zach? No.
Hi.
Oh, we've got a lovely message just here. I just want to bring this to your attention,
Zach
Jack.
is turned into a dog.
Emma says, thank you very much. That's some great tips. And Emma is that things happen great too. So thank you for that, Emma. That's great. And Emma, you can jump on. If Eben is there, feel free to get her to jump on. If not, you can. Now we've got a question from this young lady. Jack, can you read that, bro?
Would you say there is a point where you have too much time on your own and this could lead to anxiety and panic attacks? Most definitely. I think it's not always just having the time of your own. It can also be having the same amount of time in the same place. So when I was talking earlier about finding a space in your house that's just yours. So if your mum and dad come in your room too much, you're like, get out of my room. It's just because they're invading your space. So when they knock on the door, you've got to allow them to come into your space and just let them be there for a minute, knowing when they've gone, you can have that space back. So it's not necessarily the time on your own. It's just kind of too much confinement in the same space and not having enough external stuff around you to keep your brain ticking in different ways, which is why I think one of the great things about the UK was having that exercise allowance every day where we could all go out for a walk, even if it was just once a day for an hour. The amount that probably helped people to get rid of some of the anxiety by just changing their environment and allow them to create some space was amazing. Whereas countries like Spain, people weren't allowed out at all. So they would have been a lot more kind of anxious than we were, I'm sure.
That's a wicked question. That's kind of brilliant answer.
I hope that answers it as well. Like,
yeah,
rather than the time on your own, I think it's more about where you're at and kind of what you're thinking. Because sometimes time on your own can be a good thing because you can think about what you want to achieve and where you want to be in life and what makes you happy, what makes you sad, and how you can change it, rather than having to react to what everybody else is doing.
That's brilliant. Megan, if you've got another question attached to that, then feel free to whack that one on. But I just want to say as well, that I don't want to get close to it now. Same again with the environment, I had my computer downstairs and in the living room. And guess what? In the living room, I watched TV, I played PlayStation once in a blue moon, I ate food. And I was getting very, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just going to give it stress with working, and I attached that stress to my living environment, and I was getting more and more wound up, unknowing what to do. And then Laura suggested you just say in the back room. I said, I can't take him in the back room because there's not enough Wi-Fi connection. I said, what do you do? I was like, fine, I'll get a booster. It was the best thing I've done, and now I've got my space. Brilliant. I've got a really cool picture behind me. A little cook down here who loves it. It's a nice cool room for him. And this is where everything happens. And I can go out and I can do my own thing and I can live over there and work here. So Jack, I reckon Jack has absolutely smashed that answer. And in fact, he has, because Megan says thank you. So thanks for that, mate. That was really intuitive answer as well. And such a great question too. So guys, just because we're coming to the end of it now, can we have our usual little wave time? Let's have a little wave to Jack. Or say thank you, Jack.
Bye.
Jack, where else can we find you?
Pardon?
Where else can we find you, my man?
Bye.
Just check out Movement Mechanic on Instagram or on Facebook, and you'll find me there.
Bye. PC.
There we go, guys. Okay, so if you want to see you later, guys. Chat. You hang around. I'm gonna kick these terrible people out. I'm gonna kick them out of the studio. I'm only joking, guys. You're not really terrible. So just to reiterate, if you didn't hear that, Jack is on the Movement Mechanic. So if you do want to contact him, he's just given permission to say it's okay to contact Jack. If there's anything going on, then feel free. He is in the Midlands area. I'm not sure how far he travels, but he is a personal training. Is just I've seen him in action, and he's so on point and just focused. He's brilliant, and obviously what he does as well with his profession too, which is what is your, actually what would you call that?
I guess I just call myself kind of a massage therapist, I guess. So
What's
massage therapist, but I practice something called neurokinetic therapy.
There you go. That was the one.
More accurate anatomy and kind of more specific interventions to get you better. But then along with the neurokinetic therapy and sports massage therapy, I'll also use different tools and some of the tapping stuff and things to help you get better sooner.
That's really cool, man. So just before you do go, because I really want to help everyone understand you and help you out as well. What was, don't mention any names, but what was the biggest case that your proud case you had of a client when they were going through pain or something? How did you alleviate that?
So I had a gentleman with a pelvic floor dysfunction. So pelvic floors are usually associated with women and childbirths, and it's all about strengthening it to help with the birth of the child. When in reality, sometimes the pelvic floor can already be too strong, that it's gripping and causing all kinds of havoc. So this guy was having pain in his shoulder, his neck, his mid-back, and his hip. And we'd done a couple sessions just trying to work on those areas individually. And then all of a sudden, I've done a bit of work on his pelvic floor. And this is like a 45-year-old gentleman who all of a sudden started warming up and crying, letting go of some of his emotions that he'd been holding in his pelvic floor. And when he walked around, his hip pain had gone, his shoulder pain had gone, his neck pain had gone, his back pain was still there a little bit in his mid-back. But that was from all the Kung Fu and the Wing Chun that he did.
Yeah.
But everything else disappeared through the pelvic floor. And then the session after, the mid-back cleaned up really quickly with just some hands-on work. So that was probably the most powerful intervention I've seen. But I've also had some really cool stuff by treating people's eyes and a floating bone in their throat. Treating people's scars by changing their perception of an area. So if you have a scar on an area, the feedback to and from the brain changes. So by cleaning the scar allows the communication to get better, which allows the muscles to work better and the pain to disappear. But that pelvic floor, it just cleaned up so much stuff, and he let go of so many emotions that were related to it. It was great to see the change for him.
Brilliant. Guys, catch this video on YouTube. You can catch it on Facebook as well. I'm going to keep it on Facebook for 24 hours or so. And I'm going to whack it over on YouTube. But for now, dude, what we'll do is we'll say goodbye to everybody, but you hold on. That's great.
Cool.
Guys, signing.
Thank you, everyone.